Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today I'll have 10 puzzles featuring the end game, which is often neglected. You definitely want to try and study the end game often. Most people don't study it enough. Also, I had a great comment by a couple viewers that talked about whether or not solving these puzzles helps. Because if you're solving these puzzles and you know there's a tactic, that makes it easier. You can solve puzzles where you don't know what the tactic is, or you can solve puzzles that have specific tactics, and that makes it even easier if you know you're looking for a fork or whatever. But do these puzzles help? Well, most chess masters, maybe all of them, recommend that you just study tactics regularly, especially if you're a beginner or intermediate player, all the way up to 2000. You definitely really need to study tactics, constantly and try and improve your tactics. Now, as far as these puzzles and for pattern recognition, you want to solve whether it's 5 or 10 puzzles or more, you want to go over them multiple times to cement those patterns and tactics in your long-term memory. And will 5 or 10 puzzles help you improve? Maybe slightly, but to really see progress, you want to study puzzles regularly over a long period of time. It's not an overnight fix to improve your chess immediately. But if you study puzzles regularly, you'll definitely see some improvement over time. But that also depends what level you are. As you get up to a higher and higher level, it's going to become more difficult to keep improving. But a good point was brought up that 5 or 10 puzzles won't make as big of a difference, but 1,000 puzzles, that definitely can. There's a pretty good book called Rapid Chess Improvement by Michael Delamaza, I believe. It was written, years ago. It's a study routine where you take about 1,000 puzzles. I think there's a newer book called The Woodpecker Method or something, which I haven't read that one yet, but I'd like to. And it's the same thing. You solve a set of puzzles, 1,000 would be ideal. So you see a whole bunch of different tactics and you go over them multiple times. So they're ingrained into your subconscious, and hopefully that'll help you play better. All right, that was a long-winded intro. I apologize. But now let's look at the actual puzzles here. What do you do first? Well, you want to look at what your opponent just did. So their king was in check. It moved here. You might want to look at the material. So it's even. We both have a pawn and a queen, and kings, of course. Now, it looks like, I don't know, our king is way over here across the board compared to theirs. You want to look at checks, captures, and threats. So, we could go here delivering a check, and if the king moves, we could take the queen. They would have to retake, and their king would end up on f8. And now we could start heading towards our pawn to try and knock their pawn out. But let me make sure I'm looking at this correctly. So, yes, our pawn should be going up the board there, and theirs should be going this way. So, that's what we have to ask ourselves. If we check the king, take, king captures back and ends up here, I think we can grab the opposition. You want to put you want to put an odd number of squares in between the two kings, leaving the opponent to move. So if the king ends up here, the white king, and we move here, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, an odd number squares. So the king will probably start moving up the board, and see if he moves here, I think we can move here, putting an odd number squares. Once again, we go there. If he attacks our pawn, we can protect it. All right, so it looks like that's what we want to do. We go there. Now we grab the opposition. And for any beginners not familiar with that, that's once again, like I said, you move a king, leaving an odd number squares in between the two kings. So there's 5 squares in between, and it's their move. Once again, we leave an odd number squares, 3, and their move. And we can just keep doing that. Now we have the opposition with only 1 square in between. The king can no longer make headway and can't move forward. And they could go here and attack, but we would defend, and we'll be able to pick this pawn off and then march ours forward. All right, so I have these rated, or these puzzles were played by someone in the 1500 to 2000 range, or these moves that are puzzles now. They were from games where the players were rated 1500 to 2000. Now remember, if you're lower rated than that, you can still try these and see, how you do. Hopefully it'll help you. All right, so puzzle number 2, we have, let's see here. The opponent's king has just stepped forward. Now, what I was saying, we can try and get the opposition by going here, placing an odd number square in between the two kings, meaning that our opponent cannot gain any more headway into our position. He'll have to step to the side or back up. But if we do that, this pawn is preventing us from moving here if he steps off to the side. So it looks like if we go here, he could just go there, and we can't gain any headway. If we go here, he'll just go back to where he was. Then we have to go back, and that would just be kind of a draw. So something else we may want to figure out is, can we go over here? Now if we push this, if we take, he can just take. All right, so I don't know. If we go there, I don't see us making any headway. If we go here and he takes, I don't know. Then we have to go over here and stop that pawn. The king can press forward. If we go here, king keeps coming forward. And if we go after the pawn that would be here, he could pick this off, and then we take. It just doesn't look like that works. So, this is the obvious move to try and gain the opposition. But what do we do then? If we keep going after the opposition, now we can press forward, but if we go there, he's going to go there. Maybe we're going for a draw here. I guess that's what they wanted. Just a draw. Usually you're going for a win in these games. Or in these puzzles. All right, well, on to puzzle number 3. We just had a capture, and now this pawn is free to press forward. Also, our king is trying to stop this pawn, from moving. So white has 2 passed pawns, but we have a 3 pawn here versus 2 majority. So it looks like we could maybe press forward, and maybe he would let me get rid of all these arrows. If we press forward, maybe he goes here. If we go there, ooh, that could be a problem because he could start trying to march this pawn up. So I think this works though, because if we go here, if he captures that way, we can start marching this up, but first we want to capture that, I think. It's pretty tricky. Okay, so once again, this shows how complicated all pawn endgames can be. Now, I don't mean all pawn endgames. I mean endgames where they have only pawns. They can be very complicated. So if we go here, there's 2 options. Let's say they capture this way. Well, maybe we could just start marching up the board immediately. If we go there, if that guy pushes forward, we can go. If he goes up even further, we'll be able to attack him. Yeah, we should be good. So let's do this. Okay, now the question here is, do we just start marching immediately? Because the square of the pawn, if you're not familiar with that, you draw a line from the pawn to the edge that your pawn is marching towards, and then you connect all the corners here, and you have a square. And if the king can get inside that square by going here, or here, he'll be able to stop that pawn. So if we push forward, immediately the square is smaller. And so this is really tricky. This is why these endgames can be so complicated. We have to figure out, do we take time to pick that off? Well, if we do that, he'll go here or here, but we would be able to move back and stop him. But then the king would be able to move over and stop this pawn. So I'm thinking we just push immediately. They don't like that. Okay, so maybe we have to do that. Okay, now our king should be able to stop both of these pawns. So now we push. We just keep going because we have to stop this pawn. We can take. Now we can move over here and stop that one. And our pawn will be able to promote, and we should win. Okay, hopefully you figured that out a little bit better than I did. On to puzzle number 4. What do we have here? Okay. 2 versus 1 pawn. It looks like we can grab the opposition by moving here. And then what do we do after that? We push forward. The king can only go left or right. He doesn't want to back up, or we'll grab this pawn. So if he goes to one side, we need to figure out how we follow up. So we go there. Let's say the king goes towards the center. We need to push one of our pawns. Probably the pawn in front of the king. So we go there because then if he takes, we'll be able to take and we'll have the opposition. So now we push the pawn in front of the king and grab the opposition. And then we just keep the opposition until we're in front of our pawn. And now the opponent, if he steps to one side, then we go to the other side and gain ground. If he backs up, well, then we can push forward and gain more space. Okay, on to puzzle number 5. We have a runaway pawn here. And excuse me. Looks like there's no way to stop that. All right, so if there's no way to stop that pawn, if we go there, we'll be able to promote, but we're going to be in trouble because he promotes, we push. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. That's our turn. We push our pawn, he promotes, then we promote, but he's going to be able to start checking us all around the board. So the better move, a little endgame tactic here, is to stop this pawn by going here. And if the pawn promotes, we can fork the promoted pawn, now a queen, and the king with a check by that knight. So we'll go there. Now we can deliver the check. Pick off that. And we still have that knight. We can start knocking out this. He'll have to move his king over here, and try and stop this pawn. Okay, we're halfway done. I'll do 5 more. So on to puzzle number 6. The pawn is pushed forward. What should we do here? All right. Do we take, gaining the opposition? That's one option. But if we take the pawn, gain the opposition, and they go here, we can't. Oh, hold on. Let me look at what's happening here. I'm talking crazy. I apologize for that. Sometimes when you're staring at the screen, and this is the second video, I did a long video before this. I kind of do a batch of videos. That way I'm not doing videos every single day, and I get burnt out if I try and do that. But I release one video every day. I just do a group of them at a time. Okay. First thing to do is ask what the meaning was behind this move. All right, the pawn is pushing forward, threatening to capture. If we recapture, they capture. Also this king is threatening to move down in here and pick off our pawns. So our king is kind of out of play. So we probably want to go there and capture, because then if our opponent captures, we'll have the opposition. And then what? They could, well, if they push a pawn, we'll just capture that. So I think we're good. We just do that. Now we have the opposition. We can move over here, go after that. Let's see here. And it looks like we just step over, attacking that pawn, and he can't protect it anymore. So he decides to push forward. But this is where it gets tricky. If we take, he's going to gain the opposition with that one odd square in between the kings. So I think we have to go here. And then if he captures and we capture, all right, so that's what we have to do. We capture, and now he can't protect his pawn by going there. But he's trying to get in front. Now, if he would have gone here instead, we can just go there defending our pawn. Yeah, and it's not looking good for our opponent. Okay. Now, do we take? If he gets up in front of us, we can grab the opposition again. So, if he goes there, we can go here. We have the opposition, and we just slowly push him backwards and march our pawn up and promote it. Okay, on to puzzle number 7. So, what was the purpose behind this move? Okay, so the bishop was under attack by the pawn, so it stepped forward. Well, now we can just promote our pawns, it looks like. Now, we do not want to push this pawn onto the light square. We want to go here, preventing the bishop from stopping us, because if he goes there to get in front of the pawns, we can push forward here, and he can't stop us. So we go there. Now, once again, we do not want to go here, or the bishop can go there and just stop these pawns. So it's important to remember in these types of endgames where the bishop is defending, if you're trying to push these pawns, you want to place the pawns on the same colored squares as the bishop. That's kind of counterintuitive. You think, well, they can be attacked. But sure, here, if they take the one, now we promote the other. All right, so on to puzzle number 8. The king was being checked. It drops back. They have a queen of their own. We have 2 pawns versus their 1, but ours are doubled. And I guess we could go for a draw. If we go there, and he comes back here, we just go back to where we were with check. Oh, but the even better move, and you always want to look at checks first and look at all the checks. Okay, we could check there, but we could also check here, forking the king and the queen, forcing a trade there. But does that work? So yes, their pawn is trying to go this way, so we'll be able to stop it. So we go there, forcing that trade. Oh, this is kind of tricky though. Before I play it out, this is something you would have to calculate. I mean, it would be at least a draw, of course, so you'd probably just go ahead and do it. They would be forced to take because if they don't, we'd grab their queen. So we retake. Our king ends up here. They would probably try to get their pawn or their king moving. If well, I don't know. They might have to go the other way to stop these pawns. So let's just play it out. Huh, and they're not even going to look at anything further. I mean, I guess it would take them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves to promote. It would take us 4 moves, and we'd promote with check. So, what if they immediately start moving that king to get in front there? Well, we could push. If they, well, maybe we have to move the king first because if they go there, I think they'll be able to stop our pawn. So, yeah, if they go here, I think we gotta go there. And now if they start running, we go here, here. We start racing up the board. But we're going to reach it with a check, and that would make all the difference. Okay, the final 2 puzzles. Here we go, puzzle 9 and 10. So puzzle number 9, the king has stepped forward. What is the purpose of that? Well, it looks like it's attacking our unprotected rook. So, oh, we can't take their rook because the bishop is protecting it. Is there some weird tactic, like that, where if the king takes, well, first we would have to take the bishop. If their king took, we take their rook. So they'd have to move their rook. We would be able to take the pawn, and then we'd be attacking the other one, and we'd have a passed pawn. But I don't know, that seems pretty crazy. The obvious move might be to move our rook. I mean, is there some kind of check here? If they take, I don't know. We take, they'd be able to move their rook. Then we grab this pawn again. So, is there something better, like moving all the way over here? I mean, in a game, that's probably what I would play. I would just move that rook as far away as possible, and it would be on the dark square where his bishop couldn't attack it. And it cuts the king off. Although, the bishop can't even go there because we're attacking this. Okay. Is there a way to trap that rook? Huh. I don't know. I mean, what if we took that way? If they take with their pawn, we grab this. But then he could take this. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this one has a lot more going on with just a few pieces and pawns on the board. mean, I would think you would want to just go there, but there's probably some tactic, a forcing tactic in the game. Maybe you take this, but he could just take with the king. Oh no, wait a minute. We're removing the defender. If we go there, okay, yeah, maybe it's that easy. If we, then it's with check. Yeah, we just capture the defender of the rook with check. That has to be dealt with. Then we grab the rook. Okay. So I guess it was that easy. Yeah, hopefully you found that one right away. And I have one more video to do after this one. So I think I'm getting, you do too many at once and your brain starts malfunctioning. Okay, the final puzzle, number 10. No more excuses. Let's see what we can figure out here. What is the purpose behind this move? Well, it looks like it's just attacking the unprotected knight there. Although, looks like that leaves us open to just go ahead, take the pawn, guard the knight, but really we're pinning the rook as well. So that does not look too good for our opponent. Although, if we do that, if we go there, the queen could jump into the action. Maybe going here, attacking our queen and the knight. If we exchange queens, capture, rook captures, now what do we do with our knight? It's still kind of trapped. Huh. All right, is there anything tricky we can do here? I don't know. This seems to be the obvious move. We take that, but if the queen drops back here attacking both our queen and the knight, how do we deal with that? So we go there. Or, well, it can't move that rook, so the queen would have to drop back here. Then what? Oh, wow. A bishop move. Yeah, hopefully you figured this out. If we go there, queen drops back, we defend with the bishop, and that also helps pin that rook. Man, but does that work? Okay, yeah, now it's really getting complicated. We go there, he drops back here, we bring our bishop up. Oh, but that could open us. No, it doesn't even open us up to anything. The option, I was thinking a check, but that's pinned, and the king can't move over because of the knight. Okay, so let's just do this. We go there, we add to the pin. Now when they capture, we recapture with the pin. And then what? Maybe they push this pawn forward, but oh, if they do that, we can just get that knight out of there and then capture as well. Because, well, what if they don't move this pawn? Because that's helping stop that knight. The opponent is really stuck, though. I mean, I guess we could try and knock this out to free up our knight. Because if we just take, and then they take, that knight could get trapped in there. But anyway, this should be winning. Okay, that was 10 puzzles. Remember to study end games regularly, whether you're doing puzzles like this for the end game or just reading an end game book or watching a video. End games are important. Um, I know openings and middle games may seem more exciting, but you don't want to play a long, hard fought game only to lose it in the end game because you weren't sure what to do. Okay, well, as always, feel free to leave comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. And make sure if you want to see more videos, go to my channel and check out the 1100 plus videos that are on there. Hopefully there'll be something to help you play better chess. So thank you for watching and have a super chess day.